You notice it the moment you step into the laundry room. There is a damp smell that never quite goes away. Maybe the bathroom has a patch of black creeping along the caulk. Maybe every few weeks tiny flies begin circling the kitchen sink no matter how often you clean it. You pour another bottle of cleaner down the drain, spray another expensive product around the shower, light another scented candle, and for a few days everything seems better. Then the smell returns, the flies return, and the mold slowly finds its way back. The first time I visited an Amish farmhouse outside Holmes County, Ohio, I expected to find shelves full of specialty cleaners hidden somewhere in a pantry. The home had been standing for generations. There were children, livestock, muddy boots coming through the back door every day, yet the place smelled fresh without the sharp scent of bleach or artificial fragrances. I finally asked Eli, a 70-year-old Amish farmer who had lived there his entire life, what they used to keep the house so clean. He smiled, reached into a plain wooden cupboard above the sink, and placed a small paper bag on the table. "Baking soda," he said. "Most folks think it's only for biscuits." I laughed because I assumed he was joking. He wasn't. He told me families had relied on that same white powder long before supermarket cleaning aisles stretched 50 feet across a store. They did not see it as one cleaner among many. They treated it as the foundation for nearly every cleaning job inside the home. Mold, odors, greasy buildup, stubborn stains, even the little flies that seem impossible to eliminate. All of them were approached differently once you understood what baking soda actually does. The surprising part wasn't the ingredient. Almost everyone watching already has a box sitting somewhere in the kitchen. The surprising part was learning that the powder itself is only half the solution. Eli explained that success depended on knowing exactly where to apply it, when to use it dry, when to combine it with water, and when to leave it alone long enough to do its work. Most people rush the process, wipe everything away too soon, then decide the method never worked. That mistake keeps people buying stronger chemicals month after month. As we talked, Eli pointed toward the old cellar beneath the house. The stone foundation had stood through countless wet springs and humid summers, yet there was no musty smell waiting below, no heavy fragrance trying to cover mildew. Just cool, clean air. You don't fight moisture after it spreads, he told me. You stop it before it settles. That single sentence changed the way I looked at household cleaning. Over the years, I realized most commercial products promise quick results because quick results sell. But the older methods focused on interrupting the conditions that allowed mold, odors, and insects to return in the first place. Today, I'm going to show you 20 baking soda techniques that follow that same philosophy. None require remodeling your house. None require expensive equipment. Most cost less than a cup of coffee, and nearly every ingredient is probably already inside your home. Some of these methods target places you clean every week. Others focus on areas almost nobody thinks about until a smell or infestation appears. By the end, you'll understand why generations of Amish families continued using the simple powder long after modern cleaning products filled store shelves. But before we reach the formula Eli considered the most valuable of all, we need to begin with the place where nearly every hidden odor starts, the kitchen drain. What he showed me there completely changed how I think about a clean house. The next morning, Eli carried 2 mason jars to the kitchen table. One held clear water, the other contained nothing more than baking soda. There were no brightly colored bottles, no warning labels, and no expensive cleaning products stacked beneath the sink. He looked at me and said, "If you understand why something smells, you'll know how to stop it." Then he walked over to the kitchen sink. Most people think the drain itself creates bad odors. Eli explained that the smell rarely comes from the pipe alone. Instead, it comes from a sticky layer of grease, food particles, soap residue, and bacteria that slowly coats the inside walls. Every time warm water runs through, that layer releases unpleasant odors back into the room. Instead of reaching for a harsh chemical cleaner, Eli poured half a cup of baking soda directly into the drain. He waited, no rushing. "No shortcut here," he said. "The powder has to settle where the problem lives." After several minutes, he slowly flushed it with hot, not boiling, water. The baking soda helped loosen residue, while its mild alkalinity reduced many of the acidic compounds responsible for lingering smells. It wasn't about masking an odor, it was about removing the conditions creating it. He repeated this every week, long before the drain ever smelled bad. That lesson led directly to another place homeowners constantly overlook, the garbage disposal. If you've ever noticed a sour smell moments after cleaning the kitchen, the disposal is often responsible. Tiny food particles become trapped beneath the rubber splash guard where most people never scrub. Eli sprinkled baking soda beneath every fold of the rubber guard, dipped an old brush into warm water, and gently scrubbed every surface. The foaming wasn't dramatic, but the grime lifted away with surprising ease. When he finished, the unpleasant odor disappeared without perfume or deodorizer. "You clean what you can see," he told me. "The smell hides where you don't." Later that afternoon, he showed me something that explained why so many bathrooms continue smelling damp even after they're scrubbed spotless. He pointed toward the grout between the floor tiles. "It isn't always dirt," he said. "Sometimes it's moisture feeding what you can't see." He made a thick paste using baking soda and just enough water to hold it together. Then he spread the mixture across the grout lines and left it untouched for nearly half an hour. That waiting period mattered. As the paste slowly dried, it helped lift soil and absorb moisture trapped near the surface. After a gentle scrub with a soft brush, years of discoloration began fading. The bathroom looked brighter, but more importantly, it stayed fresher for days afterward. Then Eli walked into the shower. Tiny dark spots had begun forming where the wall met the tub. Most homeowners would immediately spray bleach across the area. Eli didn't. He explained that bleach often whitens the surface without addressing the moisture that allows the staining to return. Instead, he gently worked baking soda paste into the affected caulk with an old toothbrush before carefully wiping it clean. "The goal isn't making it white today," he said quietly. "It's making tomorrow less inviting." That sentence stayed with me. A few minutes later, we stepped into the basement. It was cool outside after an evening rain, exactly the weather that usually brings musty smells into older homes. Instead, the air smelled dry. Eli opened a wooden cabinet and showed me several shallow containers filled with baking soda sitting quietly in different corners of the basement. No fans, no scented crystals, no electrical dehumidifiers humming in the background. He replaced the baking soda every few weeks because, over time, it gradually lost its ability to absorb odors from the surrounding air. "It's cheaper to prevent a smell," he said, than to chase one after it settled into the walls. By then I was beginning to notice a pattern. Every method focused less on reacting to a problem and more on preventing it from becoming expensive. That became even clearer when Eli took me back upstairs and stopped beside the bathroom sink. Tiny flies hovered around the drain. He smiled. "Most people think they're coming from outside," he said. "They're already living inside your pipes." What he showed me next explained why so many homeowners spend months fighting drain flies without ever getting rid of them, and it begins with one baking soda treatment almost nobody uses correctly. Eli leaned against the counter and watched the tiny insects drift above the sink. "They're not visiting," he said. "They're living exactly where you're looking." I had always assumed drain flies came in through an open window, or slipped inside whenever the back door was left open. Eli shook his head. "They hatch inside the slime coating your pipes. Kill 100 adults, and 100 more will appear next week if you leave the nursery untouched." Instead of reaching for insect spray, he measured half a cup of baking soda and poured it slowly into the drain. Then he followed it with warm water, allowing the mixture to settle deep into the pipe before leaving it alone overnight. "The cleaning starts after you stop watching," he said with a grin. The baking soda helped loosen the organic buildup that gives drain fly larvae a place to grow. Used consistently, it interrupted the cycle instead of simply removing the insects you could see. That evening, Eli carried me into the laundry room. "If a washing machine smells clean only after perfume is added," he said, "it isn't clean." He opened the front-loading washer and pointed toward the rubber gasket around the door. Hidden inside the folds were soap residue, lint, and moisture. This little ring fools more homeowners than any other place. He sprinkled baking soda around the gasket, gently scrubbed it with a soft cloth, and then ran an empty hot water cycle with another half cup placed directly inside the drum. When the cycle finished, the sour smell that often clings to older washers had disappeared. "We cleaned the machine," he said, "so it can keep cleaning our clothes." From there we walked into the pantry. Flour, oats, rice, and dried beans filled neat glass jars along wooden shelves. "You'll never stop pantry odors if everything stays in paper." He spread a thin layer of baking soda across an empty shelf before wiping it away with a damp cloth several minutes later. The powder lifted lingering food residue while helping neutralize stale smells trapped in the wood. Once the shelves were dry, every grain returned inside tightly sealed containers. "It isn't exciting," Eli admitted, "but boring habits save the most work." Outside, the afternoon sun had warmed the porch where muddy boots waited beside the door. Instead of dragging dirt indoors, Eli kept a shallow tray filled with baking soda beneath the boot rack. Before entering the house, each pair of boots rested in the tray for a few minutes. Moisture and odors that normally spread through the entryway stayed trapped where they started. "You don't carry the barn into the kitchen," he laughed. As simple as it looked, the entryway always smelled fresh despite daily farm work. The next lesson surprised me even more. Eli opened the refrigerator. Most people expect to find an open box of baking soda sitting in the corner. He explained that while many families already do this, they often leave the same box inside for months after it has stopped doing much at all. He replaced his every 30 days. "Even simple things wear out," he said. He also sprinkled a little baking soda onto a damp cloth before wiping refrigerator shelves. Sticky spills released easily without scratching the finish, and lingering food odors faded without filling the refrigerator with artificial fragrance. Then we walked downstairs into the root cellar. Potatoes, onions, squash, and apples rested quietly on wooden racks. The room carried a faint earthy smell, but none of the heavy mildew many basements develop. Eli pointed toward several shallow dishes resting beneath the shelves. "Baking soda again?" He nodded. "It catches little smells before they become big ones." By then, I realized none of these methods depended on expensive product. They depended on consistency. Every week, the same simple routines repeated themselves. Every season, the house stayed clean because small problems never had the chance to become large ones. I thought we had reached the end of Eli's lessons. Instead, he opened a cabinet beneath the sink and pulled out one final mason jar. "This," he said, "is the mixture visitors always ask about. It wasn't for drains, it wasn't for mold, and it wasn't for odors." According to Eli, this was the one baking soda recipe his grandmother insisted every family should know because it quietly handled more cleaning jobs than almost anything else inside the house. The ingredients fit in the palm of one hand, but the reason they worked together was something I had never heard anyone explain before. Eli set the mason jar in the center of the table and slowly measured each ingredient as if he had done it 1,000 times before. "There isn't much to remember," he said. "The hard part is believing simple things still work." Into the jar went 1 cup of baking soda. He added a few drops of mild liquid soap, enough warm water to create a smooth paste, and when extra deodorizing power was needed, a small splash of white vinegar, but never mixed in a sealed container. He stirred the mixture until it spread easily without becoming runny. "This isn't meant to replace every cleaner," he explained. "It's the one you reach for before buying another bottle." He dipped a soft cloth into the paste and began wiping the inside of the kitchen sink. Water spots disappeared, soap residue lifted away. The stainless steel regained its shine without harsh scrubbing. Next came the stovetop. Grease had hardened around the burners after several days of cooking. Instead of scraping with metal tools, Eli spread a thin layer of the paste across the surface and let it rest while we talked. "People rush every cleaning job," he said. "Give the dirt time to loosen itself." 20 minutes later, he wiped everything away with a damp cloth. The grease came off with almost no effort. From there, we moved to the bathroom, where cloudy mineral deposits covered the faucet. Eli worked a little paste around the base of the fixture using nothing more than an old toothbrush. Within minutes, the dull finish brightened again. "It isn't magic," he smiled. "You just stop fighting the surface." Then he opened the oven. I expected black stains baked permanently into the metal. Instead, he coated the worst spots with baking soda paste before leaving the door slightly open overnight. The following morning, he explained, most of the softened residue would wipe away with warm water and a cloth, avoiding the overpowering fumes that many oven cleaners leave behind. "Time does half the work," he reminded me. Before we finished, Eli walked to the front door. "Every home," he said, "carries its own scent. Sometimes it's fresh bread, sometimes it's damp shoes, sometimes it's yesterday's garbage. The difference often comes down to the habits repeated every single week." He pointed toward the pantry shelf where several unopened boxes of baking soda waited beside glass jars and homemade soap. "No fancy labels," he laughed, "just things that earn their place." As the afternoon sunlight faded through the kitchen windows, I realized the lesson had never been about baking soda alone. It was about approaching a home differently. Instead of waiting until mold spread across the bathroom ceiling, Eli reduced the moisture that allowed it to grow. Instead of covering unpleasant odors with stronger fragrances, he removed what caused them. Instead of chasing drain flies every summer with sprays and traps, he interrupted the conditions that let them reproduce. Small actions, repeated consistently, year after year. Before I left, I asked him why more people didn't use methods like these. He shrugged. "New products arrive every season," he said. "Old habits don't come in colorful bottles." On the drive home, I kept thinking about that little paper bag sitting quietly on the shelf above his sink. It cost only a few dollars, yet it cleaned sinks, freshened refrigerators, reduced stubborn odors, helped maintain drains, brightened grout, refreshed washing machines, and supported dozens of everyday chores without filling the house with overpowering chemical smells. Sometimes the most valuable household knowledge isn't hidden because it's complicated. Sometimes it's hidden because it's so ordinary that people stop paying attention to it. If one area of your home has been bothering you lately, a musty basement, a slow drain, lingering kitchen odors, mildew around the shower, or those tiny flies that always seem to return, start there. One simple habit practiced consistently often accomplishes more than an entire cabinet full of products used only once. As Eli watched me load my bag into the truck, he smiled one last time. "A clean house," he said, "isn't built in a day. It's built one small habit at a time." I looked back at the farmhouse before pulling away. 4 generations had cared for that home without relying on shelves packed with specialty cleaners. They trusted simple routines, patience, and a few dependable ingredients that had proven themselves over decades. Sometimes the oldest solution survives because it continues earning its place long after newer ones have come and gone, and that may be the most useful lesson Eli shared with me that day. One final thought before we part ways. The next time you walk through your house, don't begin by asking what new product you need to buy. Instead, ask which small habit you've been overlooking. More often than not, that's where the biggest improvement begins. Eli believed a well-cared-for home reflects steady attention, not expensive solutions, and after spending time in his farmhouse, it's hard to argue with that wisdom.